There we go. The birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution.
It'd be fun if we showed what we were both squatting, just peeping over the table. Okay. Start over again. Yeah.
Sorry, the birthplace. You can include that if you want, Blake. From Cowork 591 Studios, we are the Bohemian Reformation. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus, co-host Dale Rueber, and I am Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for July 8th, 2024. Share this podcast with your friends, please. The numbers are growing. On today, although this is the day before July 4th, we wrap up July 4th because it comes out July 8th. We talk about the Devil Hands Hatfield.
To ask if you can still count to 10 on your hands, why then you had a successful 4th of July.
Okay. I like that. We talk about what you should do before you get married. Dale, you're the only one male in the room or married in the room.
Well, then what I say goes, right?
That's right. We talk about the presidential debate a little bit.
Yeah, man.
We talk about the top 3 issues of the presidential election. Jesup News, Littleton Free Watermelon Day, weekly updates. And we look at the Steve Brown Arts Center. Let's start with the big question. Tomorrow is July 4th, Dale. The over or under 50 hot dogs eaten in Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Are you going?
And the champion's not there, right?
Right.
Okay, so I will say no.
See, last year's second place guy ate 47.
Yeah.
The year before, he ate 41.
Yeah.
If he's going up 6 every year,
well,
he'll go
that's the law of diminishing returns or something. I'm not sure he could stuff 6 more in there, but
all right.
Just the thought of that gives me a stomachache. And then to think, okay, how long do you have to wait before you can throw up? But I think there's a rule against that. I think
there is a rule against that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, they dunk the bread in water.
Yeah, see, can you imagine eating a hot dog bun that been dunked in water? See, that doesn't sound good to me at all either. So,
those guys are trained.
But they call it a sport.
No.
Okay, no ball or anything, but they call it a sport. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, is cheerleading a sport?
What's that?
Easy now. Is cheerleading a sport?
No.
What?
Honestly, if they didn't have cheerleaders, if they didn't have the band, didn't have the organ or whatever, wouldn't bother me a bit. I like the game, and I don't need all that extra stuff. And so
the hoopla.
Cheerleaders to me, it just. I'm not a big fan of cheerleaders. So.
But everything has hoopla, Dale. We demand time to be filled.
Yeah. Well, we're always after Blake to get up here in a hula skirt and dance for us a little bit, but he won't. So far,
he won't do it.
But if we had that, boy, our ratings would go up.
We don't pay him enough to do that, do we, Blake?
But he's got the legs for it. See, that's a doggone shame.
All right. Then here's the second. So you're saying under
50. Yep.
I will go over then.
All right. Just to make a horse race out of it.
Nathan's tomorrow. Okay. Item 2 then. You ever heard of the 999 challenge?
I don't believe so.
You go to a professional baseball game.
Okay.
And you must eat a hot dog an inning, drink a beer or a pop an inning for all 9 innings. So 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, 9 innings.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Not anymore, but I bet there was a time in my life I could have done that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I could anymore. Because you think about those big Thanksgiving meals you used to eat, and now you don't eat nearly as much as you used to. And so, I would have trouble doing that right now. Yeah.
It is. You get the small $1.25 hot dogs. You can eat 3 or 4 of those at a meal.
Yeah, but you get the 18-ounce beers or whatever they have. That's a lot of beer.
Nah, you're right.
You wouldn't have time to go to the bathroom, probably.
And also the games have become fast again. If you got the right 2 pitchers, like Colin Ray the Brewers, Colin Ray works 4 seconds a pitch.
Yeah.
There
are half innings to go by. The pitcher only throws 5, 6, 7 pitches, and so they could come around very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't think I'm like you. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Yeah. Could you do it, Blake?
No.
Okay. All right, the third question then. The third July 4th question. How many Krispy Kremes could you eat in one setting?
Oh, jeez. Well, if I didn't eat anything else, I bet I could eat probably 4 to 6. I bet I could, because there's not much to them. There's a lot of air there. I bet I could eat 6.
A lot of grease.
Yeah, well, that's what we grew up on.
Krispy Kremes was started out in North Carolina, and the town it was started in had a huge, pun intended, had a huge obesity problem.
Really?
It did. It did.
Yeah. So
they sponsored every school event.
Yeah.
And would give free.
Well, sure. Yeah, prizes are.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. They probably were a good corporate citizen, and so
they were.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So yeah. So 4 or 5. At one time, I could have eaten probably half a dozen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could do that.
I don't know that I could, but it just seems to me that they're not solid.
Yeah.
And so if you add up the weight, it wouldn't be all that much. And so I'm thinking maybe I could still eat 6.
There's a lot of grease there, man. I mean,
know, but that's good for you, though. That would make your head shiny. See, no, that's good for your skin. So,
all right. Well, okay. Well, so Dale, do you have any Jesup news to start with?
So just a few reminders. Lunch in the Park will be back again this week, July 11th. That's Thursday, and they're having chef salad and watermelon. So
that's next Thursday.
July 11th, coming up. That's this week.
That's this week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. See
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was counting before.
Thank you. Thank you.
So July 11th, and that's by Troop 21. It's a scout troop, I'm assuming. Chef salad and watermelon. July 18th, then a week later, is the Fairbank Elementary School is serving Maid-Rites with salads and chips. And then July 25th, the Jesup Bible Fellowship will be serving pork burgers, beans, and chips. And then August 1st, walking tacos, and August 8th, mac and pork, and fresh vegetables and Oreo fluff. Have you ever had Oreo fluff?
No.
I think I've seen it in pot. It's kind of a gray color because it's like whipped cream or something. They mix Oreos in, so it kind of gives it a kind of a gray color. But
Shears used to have that when they had the deli.
Did,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay.
I have had that.
So anyway, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lunch in the parks.
Well, that August 8th.
August 8th.
That August 8th, we are having the local Jesup, we call it the Youth Talent Show at the Land of Corn Pavilion from 11 to 12:30.
That's when that is. All right.
Yeah, there's between 20 and 30 acts usually each year. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
A lot of piano players. Please get out. The numbers are usually up for that, and people enjoy that. So love to have you at that.
And what time would the talent part start?
It starts same time as the
11 o'clock.
At 11 o'clock.
Okay.
It runs 11 to 12:30.
Okay, well that sounds good. So.
Yep. Annette Zook is for the third year in a row our MC, and Annette runs them through in a hurry. She
does a good job with it. She's a wonderful piano player. She plays at the Presbyterian Church, and is just a wonderful piano player. Taught piano. I don't know if she still does. She's taught piano for years, lots of kids, and so she is a big music proponent. Okay. Also, then you mentioned the Youth Talent Show. Want to remind people that July 27th is our Littleton Watermelon Days, and that's from 12 to 10.
It'll go 12 to 8.
12 to 8.
12 to 8. Yep.
So a long stretch. We're serving watermelon 2 different times. Early in the afternoon and later in the afternoon, and so and we have a lot of entertainment there. So I hope all of you will take some time and stop out there at Littleton.
We also have children's games this year, and we have mule rides. John Kittner provides mule rides.
Okay,
and so we have stuff for young kids this year as well.
Okay, so August 9th already is the end of summer Buchanan County Tourism Center. Emily Ann Bauer. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Emily, if you remember, we did a live concert of Emily Ann up at Fairbank.
Oh, okay. She's coming back.
She's coming back
Colorado,
for that.
Is that right?
Omaha.
Omaha. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, she said then that she was coming back sometime over the summer. So, okay.
Right.
Well, that'll be neat. So that's Coming right up.
It is.
July will go fast.
Time goes fast.
We have some library news. I'll just do part of this. We'll do some more later. July, the spice is thyme.
Time.
Thyme. Thyme, where did you go? And they have samples and recipes to try at the public library. And they also have some past spices. So, but thyme I actually have heard of. And so I think there's some in my cupboard even. So,
Really?
yeah. Exercise with friends at the library Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 o'clock in the library community room. Low impact, video-led workouts. And they do something different each time. 45 to 60 minutes. Beginner friendly. You can do them seated or standing. And new people are always welcome. Comics with Do Art Production. So do you like comics? Do you like drawing? Join us in welcoming Do Art Productions on Monday, July 8 at 2 p.m. Now, that's today, right?
Yeah.
Participants will learn about the wonders of comics in this 2-hour program that is full of charismatic, creative energy and will create a comic as a group in real time. So, read a lot of comic books when you were a kid?
I did. I wasn't into the superheroes like everybody.
Yeah, well.
I was into Archie.
Oh, Art. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I used to love, they had Tarzan comic books, and they had Lone Ranger comic books, and Gene Autry and Roy Rogers sometimes, and Betty and Veronica. Holy cow, yeah, okay. Yeah, I love the Archie comic books, but I used to read, and sometimes they would have the classic comic books. They have A Tale of Two Cities in a comic book.
Oh, yeah, really?
Real quick. Or you can read Moby Dick in 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
They just made it as a comic book called Classic Comics. And so a lot of people passed a lot of tests just from reading the comic book. So. Books and Brews Book Club. Do you like books? Do you like beer? Well, join us for our Books and Brews Book Club. They will talk about books and drink beer the second Monday of every month at Allerton Brewing Company in Independence. Monday, July 8th at 6:30 is when they'll meet again. And they're going to discuss The Summer in Sonoma by Robin Carr. So I'm not familiar with that book. But anyway, if you like books and brew, Monday, July 8th, 6:30 in the evening. Arts and Scraps. You can get your creative juices flowing every Friday in July. You can use the community room from 9 to 12 to create your own crafty masterpiece. And they'll provide a variety of arts and crafts materials. Ages 10 and under must be accompanied by an adult. Then they're having STEM/STEAM bag centers, which is this new? I haven't heard of this before. Join us on Wednesdays in July to explore our STEM activities. This is a self-directed come-and-go program, and the bags and activities will be available from 10 to 1 and 2 to 4 every Wednesday. I guess I don't know that. I know a STEM thing. That was STEAM. Do you know what that?
No.
Okay, I don't either. So, okay. We have to get more information and report back next week. And here's probably the favorite one of all. Okay. The Who Killed Becky Burke Murder Mystery. And we've done these murder mysteries before, and they are kind of fun, where you try to figure out who the killer is, and the audience helps you in this sort of thing. So we did a few of those many years ago, and they're a lot of fun. Join our library assistants to discover which famous character killed our beloved library director, Becky Burke. This thrilling program is a combination escape room, scavenger hunt, and of course, murder mystery. This is intended for ages 13 plus. Pre-registration is required. The program will take approximately an hour. Available dates and times are Monday, July 8 at 7, Wednesday, July 10 at 7, and Saturday, July 13 at 6. And you can sign up at the library's webpage and /JPL Murder Mystery. And if you just go and talk to them too, I'm sure that's sometimes the easiest thing. So anyway, we'll have some more library news later. And then I can do one more thing right now. I was going to talk about the July event calendar here at 591 Co-work. And on the 9th, Fat Roy's Mexican Truck is here 11 to 4. And on the 12th, Bear's Fire Grill, 11 to 4. And I think there's several coming up the rest of the month also. And I think they're all ones that have been here before. So I won't. But Moy's Street Food, have you ever, is that new? MOY' Moy's Street Food?
I've never heard of that.
I don't remember that. So that's something on the 26th. It'd be something different if I'm thinking right or wrong. So, okay, but that's kind of the Jesup news right now. They're still taking donations for the Jesup Veterans Park, and you can do that at City Hall with Mr. Keys. Probably City Hall might be easier to get a hold of than...
Artist Sue and Tony Kennicott had an open house down by Casey's. Down there is their studio last weekend.
We were down there after you. We saw your name on this.
Oh, yeah.
And we spent the same amount of money you did.
Did you really? Yeah.
They had that little book there. I don't know why they did that, but it was kind of neat. And so,
yeah.
But, yeah, beautiful stuff.
Oh, they're incredible, aren't they, Tony and Sue both?
Beautiful stuff.
So it is. Sue is the aunt. Sue and Tony are the aunt and uncle of board member Kara Masteller of the Steve Brown Arts Center. Mm-hmm. So
when I first met her, I was raking in my yard, and she was walking by with her dog, and that's the first time I talked to her. And then we got talking, and said, "Oh," and then kind of put two and two together about who she was and who I was, and this sort of thing. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But, no, beautiful stuff.
Oh,
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, quite talented.
It was an egret, the big white bird with the long beak.
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask her what kind of bird it was. I'm ashamed to say, but it was just beautifully done. And those flowers, they look like they're almost three-dimensional the way she paints them, and then paints on top, and then paints on top, and it's very beautiful stuff. So,
well, the fish, the goldfish. Did she tell you how she does that? That looks three-dimensional.
How she did it, but
well, she
the one she has in the bottom of the bowls and that sort of thing.
She puts epoxy in. She paints a fish or part of a fish. She puts more in. She paints another part. So that's three-dimensional, or three layers as well.
Yeah. She did say it was hard to pin that little goldfish down so it wouldn't flop around while she was getting the other stuff ready. But so,
thank you. Like you say, you'll have more later.
I will. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Don't forget, the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists young and old alike to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. The long-range vision is a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and humanities. So you were a Rueber. What was your mother's maiden name?
Clendenin.
Clendenin. I knew that.
Yeah.
Do you have your family history in books?
Yeah, I have the Clendenin's Plagencools, which would be my grandmother Rueber. She was a Plagencool.
Okay.
And then Clendenin was my mother's. And then I think I also have, and they just somebody put these together years ago. They're mimeograph pages. They're not up to date or anything, but they do kind of give the history of where we came from,
right?
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I had a grandfather, maybe a great-great-great-grandfather, whatever, lived to be 116 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so you can see his grave if you want to, a little cemetery between Manchester and Strawberry Point. It's over there.
Okay.
And it tells you the years, days, and months he lived. And so I do have those, yeah.
Yeah. We have, my mother was a Benson. I have the Benson family, the family heritage. The Bensons were quite wealthy. They owned 3 ships in the 1600s and lost all 3 ships in a terrible storm and became paupers.
Oh, they didn't have American family insurance?
No, they didn't. But
that would be. They lost all 3 in the same storm.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's bad luck, man.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So they came. They ended up in Iowa, up on the Iowa-Minnesota border. And I've talked a little bit about them before on air. The Gillespies ended up out in Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, out there in that area. And I was reading in one of the books, or in the Gillespie history, about Charles Gillespie. Charles Gillespie rode with Devil Anne's Hatfield. He was part of the
Hatfields,
the Hatfield McCoy's
feud.
Feud, yes. The feud. Some of the feuds were worse than wars.
They lasted longer.
They did. Yeah. They did. But the Devil Anne's Hatfield probably was. Most of those guys during that time had nicknames like the Devil or Good or River, or they had nicknames. But this is a little bit about the Devil Anne's Hatfield. Devil Anne's Hatfield grew up in what is now Logan County, West Virginia. West Virginia, or that part of West Virginia, divided. Some of them fought for the Confederacy, and some of them fought for the Union Army. Ans Hatfield, the devil Ans Hatfield, ended up fighting for the Confederacy.
Okay.
He took a leading role in his family feud with the McCoys. In 1882, Hatfield's brother was murdered, and he had 3 McCoys responsible killed. He was indicted for his role in these crimes, but he never was tried. Hatfield may also have been involved in an 1880 attack on Randall McCoy and his family. That's where Charles Gillespie was. He was the only of the Hatfield McCoys feud. Charles Gillespie was the only one ever tried and executed.
Okay, who was he related to? Which family?
Well, he fought alongside the Hatfields. I think he was married to a Hatfield.
Yeah,
girl.
okay, so he was a Hatfield.
He was tied
clan.
to the Hatfield clan.
Okay.
Yeah. William Anderson, Devil Ans Hatfield, one of the main figures in the infamous Hatfield-McCoy feud of the 1800s, was born and raised in Logan County, West Virginia, in the Tug River Valley. His family had been some of the earlier settlers in the region, and the river served as a boundary between Kentucky and West Virginia. Most of the Hatfields lived on the West Virginia side. The McCoys lived on the Kentucky side. One of the 18 children born to Ephraim and Nancy Hatfield, and the Hatfields had huge families. Devil Ans Hatfield was known to be an excellent marksman and rider. It was said that he was so strong and fierce that he could take on the devil himself, which is supposedly where his nickname came from. In 1861, Hatfield married Levacy Chafin. I've never heard a female named Levacy.
No.
The daughter of the neighboring farmer, but he spent little time with his new bride, quickly signing up to support the Confederacy during the Civil War. A natural-born leader, he headed up a local militia with his uncle Jim Vance. Jim Vance was also a wild man in that group, which was known as the Logan Wildcats. After the war ended, Hatfield settled down with Levacy and turned to farming, cutting timber, and buying real estate. The trouble was he was a bully, so he would more or less take real estate rather than buy.
I see. Yeah.
The couple eventually had 13 children together. Ambitious and aggressive, Hatfield had one of the most successful timber businesses in the area.
More than likely, yes.
He vigorously defended his interests, even taking a man to court because he reportedly cut timber from the Hatfield land. Hatfield won his suit against Perry Klein, a friend of and relative by marriage of Randolph McCoy, his future nemesis. Like the Hatfields, the McCoys had been early settlers in the area, but most of them lived in Kentucky. Most experts agree that the infamous Hatfield-McCoy feud began with another court case. In 1878, Hatfield's cousin Floyd was accused of stealing a hog from Randall McCoy. Another cousin, Preacher Ans Hatfield, you gotta like those. I love those nicknames.
They're good names, yeah.
The local justice of the peace presided over the trial, so you gotta... But he was fair. In the interest of fairness, he created a jury of 6 Hatfields and 6 McCoys. Okay. The jury found Floyd Hatfield not guilty, and Randall McCoy and some of his family blamed the Hatfields for this defeat. Hatfield-McCoy's tension flared again 2 years later. In the Appalachian version of Romeo and Juliet, Devil Ann's son, Jones, became involved with Randall McCoy's daughter, Rosanna. Now, Rosanna was a real tragic lady. She struggled with depression. Jones was a player. He had a lot of different ladies in the area. The two met on election day. You got election day back then. Remember, you voted by hand, rather than quietly.
Yeah, secret ballot.
So everybody knew how you voted, but then you went in the bar and drank and giggled about it. The two met on election day in 1880 at the Kentucky polling place near Blackberry Creek, and Roseanne ran off with Jones to live with the Hatfields in West Virginia. She refused to come back for several months, but finally gave up when she figured out that Jones was never going to marry her. According to some reports, Devil Anns objected to the couple marrying. Roseanne went to live with her aunt back in Kentucky. She kept seeing Jones and gave birth to his baby, who later died. One night, some of the McCoys caught up with Roseanne and Jones. They said that they were going to take him to jail for moonshine, but she thought that they were going to kill Jones. Rosanna went off to tell the Hatfields, and the Devil Anns organized a rescue party. This is where Charles Gillespie comes into play. The Hatfields met up with the McCoys and secured Jones' release. The bloodshed associated with the McCoy-Hatfield feud began on another election day in Kentucky on August 7, 1882. Devil Ann's brother Ellison got into a fight with Randall McCoy's son Tolbert. Tolbert repeatedly stabbed Ellison, as did his two brothers, Farmer and Randolph Jr. Ellison was also shot once in the altercation. The McCoy brothers were arrested, but they never made it to jail. When Devil Anns heard of the brothers' shooting, he rounded up a group of supporters and took the McCoys from the lawmen. Devil Anns brought the McCoys back to West Virginia and held them prisoner. Their mother, Sally McCoy, came to plead for the Hatfields to spare their sons' lives, but when Devil Anns learned that his brother had died of his injuries, he had no mercy. He and his men tied the three McCoys to some pawpaw bush and executed them. You know, what does it matter? They tied them to bushes and killed them, but it was pawpaw bushes.
Well, that might be important later on. So,
while Devil Anns and several others were indicted for the episode of vigilantism, the authorities were unwilling to arrest them and bring them to Kentucky for a trial. For 5 years, Devil Anns and his co-conspirators went about their business unhampered by the charges against them. Perry Cline, however, changed all that in 1887 when he convinced the governor of Kentucky to put up a reward for the capture of Devil Anns and the others. Cline also brought in Bad Frank Phillips. I love that name, Bad Frank Phillips. To help round up these wanted men. Other bounty hunters and detectives also joined in the pursuit, hoping to get that reward money. Phillips was able to capture several of the Hatfields, including Devil Ann's brother Valentine. The Hatfields, some believe it may have been Devil Ann's, came up with a devious plan to end the hunt and prevent the trials of their imprisoned relatives, believing if the McCoys were dead, that the murder case would fall apart. The Hatfields organized a group to attack the McCoys at their home on New Year's Day, 1888. Devil Ann's son Jones and Cap and his uncle Jim Vance, among others, conducted the raid. Some reports state that Devil Ann stayed home because he was ill. Others claim that he didn't know about the plot. The attack proved to be only partly successful. The group killed several members of the McCoy family, but Randall McCoy, his wife, and two of the daughters managed to survive. Reports of the savage assault made the national news, and the brutal feud turned into a media frenzy. The ensuing court battle received a lot of press attention as members of the Hatfield family and his supporters were eventually brought to trial. 9 of them, including his brother Valentine, were found guilty and given life sentences. His nephew, Ellison Mounts, was executed in 1890 for the murder of Alifair McCoy, Randall's daughter. Okay, that was later on. Devil Ann's, however, was never tried for his role in the murder of the McCoy brothers or for his possible involvement in the New Year's Day attack. Shortly after the fateful day in 1888, Hatfield bought some land in a more remote location known as Island Creek, and there he took special measures to avoid capture. Hatfield went through transformation in later years in life and had once said, "I belong to no church unless you say that I belong to one great church of the world. If you like, you can say it's the devil's church that I belong to." But he changed his tune, choosing to be baptized in 1911. Hatfield lived peacefully on the farm in Island Creek where he raised his hogs. He remained a crack shot until the end and reportedly carried a rifle with him wherever he went. On January 6, 1921, Hatfield died of pneumonia at his Island Creek home. There's a life-size marble statue of him to honor the fallen leader. So, that
was quite the story, wasn't it?
He was a unique man, the Devil Ann's Hatfield. The Kevin Costner played him.
I was going to say there was a TV movie
Yeah.
Of that because I did see those.
Yeah. But Costner played him.
Yeah.
So this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and I'm here with producer Blake Tempus and Dale Rueber. I'm Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for July 8th, 2024. Dale, what else do you have for tonight?
Well, I was just things that catch your eye sometimes. And
Okay.
United States Supreme Court is looking at some cases, and one of the cases they're looking at is from Texas, where Texas passed a law about porn sites. And they said that porn sites must verify the age of the users of these sites by submitting a government-issued identification card. And a trade group representing the adult entertainment industry says this risks inadvertent disclosure, leaks, or hacks, and imposes, this is a quote, imposes significant burdens on adult access to constitutionally protected expression. So you can just imagine these guys that, I always say guys, but trying to hide this use from their wives and everything, but yet they have to hold their ID card up to get online. And so anyway, the Supreme Court is going to look at that and to see if that's somehow or other goes against the Constitution. So I just thought it was very interesting how this would come up and how regular users of pornography, how they would feel about having to disclose that fact. And so to me, it's more amusing than troubling, but I just thought it was very interesting.
So do you have to hold it up to the camera online?
You have to submit it to the site, I guess, when you sign up, I would imagine. It just says that you have to verify your age in order to get onto these websites. And so I would imagine somehow or other they would have to take a picture of or send something. I don't know. It doesn't really say how they do it, but they have to the people who provide the service, they must have proof that you are of legal age before they will sign you up and start sending or allow you access to their site.
It sounds like a Texas legislator is trying to get a lot of attention here.
Well, it could be, but they have passed it and now it's gone through all the Texas courts and now it's going to the Supreme Court. So we'll be interested to see. And again, it's one of those things where all the problems in the world, is this something the Supreme Court should be spending a lot of time on? I don't know. But I just find that very interesting that came up that way, and just imagining in my head what some of these people are thinking when they go, this is not an anonymous activity anymore. So
that is quite unique.
Yeah. Also, there was something about Rudy Giuliani. You talk about a guy that falls on his sword for somebody. He was sued for defaming two Georgia election workers, and they got a $148 million judgment against him. And now the New York bar has taken away his law license, so he cannot practice law anymore. And this is all because of him being unrepentant. He still says, the election was crooked, the election was a fraud, even though there is no evidence to any of that. And so he has really fallen on his sword for Donald Trump. You think that Donald Trump would rescue this poor guy, but you see him on the news, he just looks terrible. He, sometimes you hit your wagon to a star, and sometimes the star is a dud, and it's ruined his life basically because he was a very admired man for years and years, and so now it's more of a joke about how he got involved, and so. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about is the child labor laws. The federal law says that kids under the age of 14 and 15-year-olds will say, they cannot work after 7 o'clock in the evening during the school year, and they cannot work later than 9 o'clock in the summer. But Iowa recently passed a law saying that they could work till 9 p.m. on school days and 11 p.m. in the summer.
Is that under 16?
14 and 15-year-olds, yeah. Okay. So Iowa passed a law that went against the federal law. And a lot of people, they talk about restaurants that hire a lot of kids. They hired kids under the Iowa law. Well, the Department of Labor the federal has been fining these restaurants. One restaurant was fined up to $180,000. So the Iowa people are saying, oh, the feds are picking on us because nobody follows that. It's a long-standing law, been for many years. And they say, nobody follows that law. And the feds are saying, well, we're not picking on Iowa. You passed this law, you were breaking the law, and now people are paying the price for not following the federal law, which I don't know how old you have to be before you realize that federal law overrides state law, and state law overrides city law, and all this. There's a hierarchy there, and so this will end up in court also, I'm sure.
It will.
Yeah,
it will.
And so the courts are going to be busy with all the stuff that's going on right now with elections and this kind of stuff. Why, as a state, would you pass a law that the federal law is more stringent than what you're doing? You have to know that the federal law is going to override the state law.
Because our governor wants to embarrass the president.
Well, it could be, but it's this last legislature that did that, and so I did think it was nice of our governor when President Biden provided all the money for the flood victims out there, made a disaster area. She did thank the president, which I thought I wasn't sure that she would do, that she would acknowledge that this was coming from the president, that the president had okayed this. So I thought that was nice. So anyway, those are just some things I found that I tickle my fancy a little bit. And so we have a little bit more library news. We got a few more things about the library because they got a lot going. On Monday, July 15th, they have the Chapter Chat Book Club, and they're reading The Covenant of Water. And you can get that at the book now. If you want to get involved with a book club, they'd love to have you. Read to Phoebe. Phoebe is a special therapy dog that many children will know from Jesup Elementary School and Mrs. Nolan's classroom. And Phoebe is visiting the library on Thursdays in July, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, from 11:30 to 1, to listen to friends read to her. So you can sign up for 15-minute slots and read whatever book you want to Phoebe. And if Phoebe doesn't like it, she'll chew your leg off or something. So get something else. So. Candy sushi. Okay, all right. Want to try your hand at making sushi that's actually sweet to eat? These treats are made with candy, fruit strips, and cereal, and we'll eat them with real chopsticks. Okay, that's July 16 at 2 o'clock. Pre-registration is required. There's only 15 participants, and if your children are 9 and under, they must be accompanied by a caregiver. So did you ever eat any sushi or raw fish? Or I've never been to a place that has that, but
years ago.
Yeah. And I remember we were 4 or 5 of us were fishing down at Fontana, and so we had a couple bullheads, and we caught a frog, and we were going to made a little fire. We're going to eat the fish and the frog legs, for lunch. And so I imagine we probably ate those more raw than cooked, and didn't kill any of us. So okay, you know what a cockatoo is?
It's a bird.
It's a bird, right? And they have one at the library on Friday, July 19th at 4 o'clock, and they're going to have one there. And you can learn all about it. It's July 19. So, Wild Thunder. Learn about our friends in nature with Wild Thunder Wildlife and Animal Rehabilitation and Sanctuary. And that's on July 23rd. So, hear about and see animals native to Iowa and exotics as well. And all ages are welcome. And so, a lot of library news.
Yes, there is.
Lots going on at the library. And the rest is... they have the coffee and they have the cake pans and the book clubs for the kids and everything. So all those you can find at the library and check them out. A lot going on over there. And like I said, people put a lot of effort in to come up with these programs.
They do.
And it's nice to have good participation.
Yeah, they do. The librarians do an incredible job in our town.
Nice people.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to kill Becky Burke. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Dale.
That's all right.
This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. We're coming to you from Co-Work Studios in beautiful downtown Jesup. Right now, I'd like to talk about a unique teacher.
Okay.
7th grade year, a new football coach came to Howard Wintershee Community School District.
Okay.
Even then, even in the 1970s, football was a big deal. Crestwood had not had a lot of success, and Bob McNew and his family came to town. Mm-hmm. Bob was a PE teacher by trade. He was the athletic director, and he was the football coach. And back before culture was a word, he changed the culture in Cresco. In Howard Winneshiek Community. I hate to say Cresco because Howard Winneshiek Community School District is made up of Lime Springs and Elma and Ridgeway and several small towns in that area, including Cresco. When Bob came, he started speaking in church, and one Sunday Mom made me go to church, said, Coach McNew is speaking in church today. And Coach McNew was a pacer. He paced in front of the pulpit, and I forget what the service was about, but that was the first experience I had with Coach McNew. Coach McNew, as I said, changed the culture in Cresco. He, one of the many athletes he sent to college to play football, Skip Eckhart, played at UNI. Skip coached a state champion at Traer. And Coach McNew passed away here June 27th. He was from Lexington, Kentucky. You'd have never known he was from Kentucky.
Okay, no accent?
No, he didn't have that accent.
Yeah.
He was the son of Ray and Thelma McNew. Bob was born February 19th, 1939 in Fairfield, Iowa. He graduated from Fairfield High School in 1957. Parsons College in 1961, received his master's from the University of Northern Colorado in 1964. He married Ann Peck October 25th, 1958 in East Pleasant Plain, Iowa. I'm not sure I know where that is.
Nope.
Bob enjoyed 38 years as an educator and coach. He taught physical education, coached football, and other sports as needed. At the Iowa communities of Humboldt, Maquoketa, South Winneshiek of Kelmer, Crestwood of Howard Winneshiek and Cresco, and Lee College in Albert Lee, Minnesota. He compared sports to the game of life. It's not if you win or lose, but how you play the game. Teaching the total person was important to him, not just coaching up their athletic abilities. He was a sports enthusiast, badminton player extraordinaire, loved music, and regretted not playing the piano. He was an honored member of the Iowa Football Coaches Hall of Fame and served a term as the president of the Iowa Football Coaches Association. He proudly served in the Iowa National Guard for 7 years. In retirement, Bob and Ann moved to Bella Vista, Arkansas in 2001. He enjoyed golfing, bowling, playing cards, volunteering at the University of Arkansas track meets and LPGA golf tournaments, and church leadership as Take a Knee Bob. They moved to Lexington, Kentucky in 2020 to be closer to family. Bob will be greatly missed by Ann, his wife of 65 years, their children Kurt, his wife Sheila of Eaton, Ohio, Doug, his wife Charlotte of Ames, Iowa, and their daughter Sherry of Lexington, Kentucky. Their grandsons Rob, Caleb, Daniel, and Charles, and his wife Marky, all of New Lebanon, Ohio, and their great-grandchildren James, Bethany, Nancy, May, Isabel, Brody, Isaac, and Adeline. The family would like to thank Bluegrass Hospice Care and Comfort Keepers for their care and support. Bob was preceded in death by his parents Ray and Thelma McNew. The day for the celebration of life in Fairfield, Iowa is the 14th of July. And I can't remember the hours. You can find that online. If you want to contact Ann, his wife, the address is 1783 Timber Creek Drive, Lexington, Kentucky, 40509. Bob was at Crestwood when physical education went from girls separate from boys to girls and boys mixed, and he didn't bat an eye. PE was wonderful. It was a great time. Although he was serious, one of his best lines, if you were disappointing him or you were acting up in class, he would yell, "Mr. Gillespie, you're acting like Barney Fife." I love that line. Everybody would comment on that line. Everybody received the Barney Fife line at some point or the other. Their friends would give it to them.
Yeah.
But Bob was, like I say, a special person, and I want to give condolences to his wife Ann and their children. So this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. So Dale, how many years have you been married now? Bob was married 65.
50
years.
Yeah.
You were saying last week or 2 weeks ago that you guys went back to the church you were married in.
Yeah, that was it was the day after the anniversary of the 15th, and Sunday was the 16th, and so we went back to the little Presbyterian church we were married in Rhinebeck, and it was a neat little experience.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Good memories.
Interesting. So Dale, before you and Deb got married, what did you talk about? What were the questions that had to be answered with each other?
Oh, okay. You mean about as far as potentially getting married?
Well, here you go. Here, this list comes from. This is from a college. I think this is from the University of Georgia.
Okay.
Like, what percentage of our income are we prepared to spend to purchase and maintain our home on a monthly, annual basis?
We did not discuss that at all.
Okay. Who is responsible for keeping our house and yard cared for and organized? So who does the yard chores? Who does the chores in the house?
We never discussed it.
Never talked about it.
I can tell you what we did discuss. We had our first family meeting.
Okay.
Number one, do you want the toilet paper to come over the top or from under the bottom? That was something she wanted to know. And then about hanging the towels, how to fold the towels to hang them on the towel rack. And make sure the tag doesn't show.
Okay.
Those are the two things I remember we discussed. Other than that, we just kind of evolved into the roles we have. So they recommend also how much money do we earn together now, a year from now, 5 years, 10 years, who's responsible for which portion now in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. Did you have a joint checking account? Oh yeah, we put all our money together right away.
You did, and you kept it that way.
Yes, still is today.
Number one reason for divorce is money.
Yeah, and I know it is, and so and we never really argued about money or had problems. We both are. She's not an extravagant person, and I'm not an extravagant person. So we don't make purchases that would harm the family. You know, you're walking down the street and you see a $500 thing in the window. And you say, I got to have that. Just go in and buy it.
Right.
Something like that would be discussed. And by the time you discuss it, you would figure out 10 reasons why you didn't really need that at all. And so, no, we never really had problems with money. We always pretty much agreed. Now she thinks I spend too much.
Do you still eat eat meals at the table together?
Yeah, supper
at the table together. Yeah. Are each of you happy with the other's approach to health? Did you ever have that discussion through the years?
No. I don't know. Never had the discussions. I mean, she has more health problems than I do, and she's been very open about it and this and that and what she needs and this sort of thing. But no, we never had problems with that.
Did what about like hanging or being around each other's families? Did you make plans about being with your in-laws? Did you set boundaries with each other's in-laws?
No, I don't think we set boundaries. My family was, I didn't have much of a family. She had more family than I did, okay. 3 hours away, so it wasn't too bad.
Right, yeah.
So, and we saw them often enough, and they knew our my goal was that our grandkids should know their grandparents. And so we made sure that happened. And so...
How did giving birth to children change your family?
Well, we had to buy a different house. Well, I don't know. When you have a family, you get a will, and you look for people to take care of your kids if you die, and this sort of thing. And then you start making arrangements for them to get socialized, to meet other kids and this sort of thing, even before school starts. And also the times that you do things. I remember, the two kids in the bathtub and you're watching, and Deb's not home and you're in charge, and the two kids are in the bathtub and you're trying to watch the ball game or the end of a movie, and just as it gets to where you really want to see it, we want to get out now, and so you learn patience. You have to learn that taking care of them is the most important thing you have to do, even though, there are times when you mumble under your breath because, you've given your life to those kids. So life changed a lot, and going out became a problem because, when you go, if you want to go out, you grab your car keys, close the door, you have a dog even, but you don't work too much, and you go. So he said, okay, let's go somewhere. Okay. Where's the diaper bag? You got to change the kids because their clothes aren't clean, so you got to get a new outfit on all the kids. And by the time the third kid has a new outfit, the first kid has ruined the first outfit. You got to have fresh diapers. You got to have the diaper bag. You got to have the bottles, the formula, the water. And so it takes you an hour and a half to get out the door. And that's something you have to learn also, is that life is not simple anymore. It is not simple.
Did it change friendships with? Friends
you
had?
acquired friends that had kids. It seemed like, and it was harder too. You remember we went to see Dances with Wolves?
Yes, I remember that.
It was in Cedar Falls.
Yep.
Okay, so that's like a 3-hour movie.
Right.
Okay, so. You and I go. I leave my wife home with 3 little kids.
Right.
Okay. So that's a 3-hour movie. I did not know it's a 3-hour movie. So I had said, yeah, we'll be back. Well, we weren't back, and so supper was there, and I wasn't there. So it was a rough.
Yeah.
And so having single friends was hard, and having even married friends that have kids older than yours was hard. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of gravitate towards people that have kids about the same age. It just makes it so much easier because they understand, and their hours are about the same as yours. Right. They got to get them in bed by 8, and if things go wrong, they'll understand why you're leaving early, with the kids and this sort of thing. And so it does change your social life, I guess you call it. How often you go out, and if you really care about your family, it does. It changes. You can't help it.
How did children, and you answered the question there, how children changed the way you lived. How about at home? How did children change the way you live?
Well, you have to be quiet when they're napping and not have the TV too loud or this sort of thing. Because if they're asleep, you want them to stay asleep as long as possible. And so that changed. Also, vacuuming, mowing the lawn, all these kind of things had to fit with their schedule as far as their napping when they're little, with their napping schedule. And so that the kind of stuff you eat changes because, you say, well, I'd like a steak and a baked potato. And the kids are saying, well, we want, fish sticks and French fries. And so you end up eating fish sticks and French fries. And, so it changes what you eat also. Because how often you get ice cream changes. So have your children ever said how they compared to how you parent? No, I don't think so. They have. I think all 3 have expressed how do we do it. How do we manage to with the salaries we had to take care of them, give them the opportunities that we. And so they have expressed that. And I don't think. Raising kids these days is a lot different than when we were raising kids. And so, I don't know, I didn't hit my kids, they don't hit their kids. I guess that's, I don't know.
Who was the disciplinarian, you or Deb?
Well, Deb was the one that decided they needed discipline, and I was the one that had to do it. I thought everything was fine, but...
So you were the.
I don't know. We probably did that together. We had a lot of discussions about how to handle the kids, but I think that's probably something we did together also.
Okay.
And,
all right.
And again, I'm lucky. My kids did not need a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
They were really good kids, and I have to say that.
My mother was a disciplinarian in our house.
Yeah. All the sneaky bad stuff that I did to my parents, I don't think they did that to me. But I'm still waiting for that time when we have that family get together. Remember that time that we snuck out in the middle of the night and Dad didn't know anything about it? And those things may be coming yet. But as far as I know, they didn't do half the stupid crap that I did when I was a kid. I always found myself very fortunate. And it was hard for me to get really mad at them for things they did do because I had done a lot worse than they were doing. So, Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well,
Is this encouraging you now to get married and have little babies? Or?
I'm afraid I'm getting to the point of age to. I don't know if I have the enthusiasm to have a baby in my house right now.
No. Enthusiasm is the right word.
Yeah.
So I'm glad Blake has his ears covered so he can't hear this conversation.
Yes.
Otherwise, he'd be single the rest of his life.
Yes.
But it's an adventure, and it's very rewarding. And
before we wrap up tonight, we want to thank some of our sponsors, as always. Innovative Wealth Managements in Jesup, Reyes Concrete and Littleton Lounge, the Littleton Chatham Historical Society in Littleton, Laces in Independence, Joe and Judy Olson of Independence, the Independence Bulletin Journal, Derek's Repair in Jesup, Keith Bickert, Jacobson's Fabrication Repair outside of Jesup, Even Events and Rentals of Jesup, the Mayor, Thomas James, LLC, Boyd's Food Truck, Mickey D's. Look forward to having those two at the Watermelon Day. Dream Chaser Acres is always the sponsor. Bobby Leach and the Farm Bureau Financial Services, M&M Bakery in Lawrence, Kansas. Don't forget we are headed toward Littleton Watermelon Day. Before we wrap up, want to talk about Balance, the Balance Festival that's going to take place out between Independence and Otterville.
right.
August 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. They have over 60 bands and musicians. There will be camping, swimming, live painters, vendors, and art installations. Tickets are available at www.balancemusicfest.com. That's www.balancemusicfest.com. You go there, you can buy your tickets. There's a payment plan. There's a pre-party. Dale, there's a pre-party. You and I may have to go to that. Join us August 22nd for our Balance pre-party featuring Yeti, Toadface, Bazura, and more. Blake, have you ever heard of any of those?
No.
Okay. There'll be live painters, vendors, Element 5 sound system. You must be 18 to get in.
Now, did you ever figure out if live painters meant people who are alive will be painting something, or they are people who paint you while you're still alive? Did we know?
We didn't figure that out.
Okay.
But we're interested.
We have to sneak in there to see what they're doing.
Kayak downstream
Yep.
and go in there. Before I do the spiel here, a shout out. There's one of our listeners in Chicago has been experiencing some health problems. We know you listen, so hope you're feeling better. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to the SteveBrownArtsCenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@SteveBrownArtsCenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and our producer Blake Tempus. Thanks as always to Kelly C. Haas for support here at Cowork 591 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories.
Yes, sir.